I first heard about the memory clinic long before I ever stepped inside it, though I didn't realize it at the time. The ad appeared everywhere, on quiet websites I barely visited, in the corner of a podcast I didn't remember playing, even murmured in conversations I swore I had never been part of. I assumed it was the universe pushing me toward an answer I desperately needed. Only much later did I understand that the universe had nothing to do with it. Back then, all I knew was that my mind was broken. The same memory replayed every night, uninvited and unchanging. Headlights, metal, a shutter that felt like the world splitting open. A scream that always sounded like mine, though I could never remember making it. It wasn't just fear. It was a hole I fell into over and over again, unable to climb out. Not a cure, just relief. The building stood alone an hour outside the city, surrounded by pale fields that looked silver at dusk. When I arrived for the initial consultation, the receptionist greeted me by name before I had the chance to introduce myself. I brushed it off. Maybe they recognized my voice from the call I barely remembered making. The lobby was clean in a way public spaces rarely are. No dust, no clutter, no smell of people passing through. The air was cool and chemical soft, like something filtered too many times. Then I met Dr. Hale. He had sharp features softened by an expression of practiced calm. His voice carried the steady, deliberate cadence of someone who'd spoken the same words hundreds of times. "You're making the right decision," he said, guiding me into his office with a gentle hand to my shoulder. "Your mind has suffered enough. What we do here is compassion, not removal." I believed him because the alternative was unthinkable. During the first session, he placed small metallic sensors at the base of my neck and along my temples. Each one buzzed faintly as it activated. The room dimmed. The hum deepened. And then, like slipping underwater, everything went black. I woke seconds later, or what felt like seconds, with Hale leaning over me. "You did well," he said, though I didn't remember doing anything at all. The early sessions blurred together. Sit, breathe. Darkness, a faint vibration. Hale's calm voice pulling me back. By session 4, something began to shift. At first it was small. A wrong detail in a familiar memory. A conversation I remembered differently each time I thought about it. A dream that felt like a leftover thought from someone else's life. Then the flashes began. During the blackout, the darkness thinned, revealing a faint blue glow. A corridor. A room. Shadows that didn't match anything I recognized, but each glimpse vanished too quickly to hold on to. After session 6, the flashes became scenes. I dropped into a long chamber filled with blue lights running evenly across the ceiling. Rows of beds stretched outward, each bed occupied, each body still, each face my own. The sight was quiet, peaceful, horrifying. I woke thrashing, breath torn from me, but Hale only adjusted the machine with a small frown. "Your mind is resisting adjustment," he said. "Hallucinations happen when the emotional core of a memory isn't ready to soften. Hallucinations. The word felt like a bandage slapped over a wound that was still bleeding. But over the next few days, something worse began. The world outside the clinic stopped feeling real. I would swear I walked home, sat on my couch, ate dinner, slept in my bed, but small details twisted out of shape. My apartment layout felt slightly different each time. My street turned left when I remembered it turning right. A neighbor's face changed subtly from one day to the next. When I reached for a familiar memory, pieces slid sideways, rearranging themselves like scattered papers. Yet every morning I found myself back at the clinic, standing in the lobby as if I had never left. Hale always greeted me before I spoke. "You're early today," he'd say, though I'd be sure I was on time. And session by session, the blue-lit chamber beyond consciousness grew clearer. 20 beds, 20 versions of me. Some aged, some fresh, some injured in ways I didn't understand. One looked like me at 16, one at 20, one older than I'd ever been, each labeled with a small metal plaque above the bed. 3A, 3B, 3C, up to 3T. My stomach tightened when I realized there was always one bed unoccupied. I didn't tell Hale. I didn't trust him anymore. Then session 9 brought the truth crashing down. As soon as the machine hummed, I fell, not drifted, directly into the chamber. No darkness, no delay. A soft female voice echoed across the room. "He's aware again." Another answered. "Pattern breach?" "Full breach." Then Hale's voice, strained, deliberate. "How long until collapse?" "Minutes," she answered. "He needs to last longer." A long pause. "He won't." Before I could react, the world yanked me upward, back into the therapy chair. As my heart hammered against my ribs, I sat up too fast. "What is happening to me?" Hale hesitated. That slight delay said more than words. "Your mind is unstable," he said carefully. "Identity fragmentation. It's expected in difficult cases." But his eyes kept flicking toward the corner camera, as if he wasn't allowed to say more. That night, I tried leaving the clinic for real. I walked down the long driveway to the road. I kept walking until the building disappeared behind the hill. But when I reached the top and looked down, the clinic was still in front of me, as if I had never walked at all. Panic clawed up my throat. I spun around, desperate to find any exit, any change, any landmark. The field stretched endlessly, identical in every direction. No road, no trees, no sky shifting color. Just the clinic, waiting. When I returned, the receptionist greeted me with the same smooth smile. "Welcome back. Dr. Hale is expecting you." I didn't remember scheduling another session. I didn't remember ever leaving the lobby. I didn't remember. Memory wasn't the problem. Reality was slipping. The next morning, I woke already sitting in the therapy chair. Hale stood beside me, adjusting the machine. No greeting, no explanation. It was as if the space between yesterday and today had been cut out entirely. He placed a sensor against my temple, his hand trembling just enough for me to notice. "You're close now," he murmured. "Too close." "To what?" my voice cracked. Before he could answer, the machine activated, swallowing my question. This time, I didn't enter the chamber. I entered a memory. Except it wasn't mine. A hallway lined with metal doors. A guardsman walking briskly. A woman whispering into a recorder. A lab full of monitors showing the same man sleeping in 20 identical rooms. The man was me. Then another memory. Someone else's. A bright room. A child crying. A clipboard stamped with Subject 1. Hale's voice, younger, anxious. "He's deteriorating. We need a cognitive anchor." A second voice responded. "Find someone with a stable identity profile, strong consciousness pattern, someone who can be rebuilt, a mind that clings to itself, no matter how many times it breaks." Another flash. Years passing in seconds. A new voice, older Hale. "He's fragmented again. Start a new iteration." Someone else. "Should we reset the environment too?" Yes, he responds better when he thinks he came here on his own. The environment, the field, the path, the receptionist. Everything outside the chamber was a set, a controlled illusion, a loop custom built for me. My legs buckled. The truth rippled across me like cold water. I wasn't being treated. I was being recreated. Over and over. I didn't come to the clinic. I never left it. Every version of me believed he arrived in pain, sought help, stepped voluntarily into the cycle. But the cycle created that illusion. So each new version would walk willingly into the machine. It wasn't therapy. It was maintenance. I was the system, the anchor, the stabilized consciousness they needed to rebuild something older, something broken long before I existed. The original subject wasn't me. The subject was something else entirely. I was just compatible. A consciousness durable enough to be copied endlessly, shaped into new forms that could host the fragments of the original. My chest tightened as the chamber swallowed me again. 20 beds, 20 bodies, only one empty. A shadow stepped into view. Another me, calm, unblinking, waiting. But this version wasn't fresh. Something in his expression was knowing, almost sympathetic. He knelt beside my bed, studying me the way a person might study a fading photograph. "You found out earlier this time," he said quietly. His voice was steady, a softened version of mine. "You're 3U?" I whispered, a faint smile. "No, I'm beyond that, a composite. I carry pieces of all of us." His eyes darkened slightly, like he carried more memory than a single mind should. "Why do they keep making us?" He looked toward the ceiling, where unseen observers watched. "Because the original subject lost himself. They're trying to rebuild him, piece by piece, and we're the pieces." "What happens to me?" My voice barely held. Something like sorrow flickered across his face. "You fade. We always fade. That's our role." The chamber lights dimmed. The hum deepened. My consciousness wavered. The composite version of me placed a hand on my shoulder. Not cruel, not kind, just steady. "Don't fight it," he murmured. We hold together longer. When we let go, I felt myself pulling apart. Thoughts dissolving like ash in water. Hale's voice drifted in from somewhere far away. He's collapsing. Prepare the next cycle. The composite leaned close, his voice now almost a whisper inside my fading mind. I'll carry what you leave behind. The world flickered. My identity thinned. I tried to hold on to one memory, one image, one proof that I existed beyond the cycle. But everything slipped. Everything unraveled. The last thing I heard before my consciousness folded in on itself was my own voice, steady, detached, belonging to the next version rising in my place. I remember enough. And then, silence. The beginning of another cycle. A new me waking, believing I had come to the memory clinic of my own free will.